The Steam Game of the Year awards are currently underway and due to end soon. While I rarely ever pay attention to these things, I want to use them this time as a catalyst for highlighting and giving praise to a VR game that didn't make it to the finals, but, in my opinion, should win the award hands down. No surprises here, the thumbnail and video title have already told you which game. Vertigo 2 was by far the best VR game experience I've had this year, and I believe it to be an accomplishment of game development in and of itself. As far as traditional original gaming experiences go, its only equivalent in VR is the revered Half-Life Alyx, which is already a compliment. Though, I'd go as far as to say that Vertigo 2 actually surpasses Alyx in at least its gameplay scope. It took me shy of 16 hours to beat during my first playthrough on hard difficulty, and that wasn't playing at a leisurely pace either, nor did I find all of the secret areas or weapons. It was a playthrough that marked the longest I've ever live-streamed a VR game, owing to just how enthralled I was going through its journey. It's a fully featured, traditional, single-player experience that, from beginning to end, is full of character which delights in the originality and density of what it has to offer. All of that is already a rare treat to have in VR gaming at the moment, but I must stress that so much of my enjoyment with it came from how original and fresh everything was, while maintaining a good and sometimes great level of quality in all the areas that matter. As an extremely old man who has played a lot of games in his time, with only a cursory glance of a trailer or basic gameplay, I can now, sadly, easily and accurately predict the narrative and mechanical experiences most new releases will have to offer me. So the fact that Vertigo 2's setting is so original and such an unknown quantity in almost every regard meant that for the first time in recent memory, while I was playing, I had absolutely no idea what the hell the game was going to throw at me next. I loved it. Anything felt possible, and I treasure that feeling of unknown wonder so much because I rarely ever get that from gaming anymore. Admittedly, the first 2 or 3 chapters are a little run-of-the-mill with their environments, but very soon after that, the game quickly goes bonkers with where it takes you to and what you participate in, and only continues to escalate the surprises and originality from then on, but never in a way that felt jarring to the immersion or was self-indulgent. Despite the sheer variety of locales and creatures, there remained a believable coherence to the whole thing. It's wacky and disjointed, but it still somehow worked. And it was always paced and presented in a way that seems plausible and more often dramatically refreshed the visuals and gameplay encounters with good timing. The game has fun with itself and wants to share that with you as a player, all the while offering a decent level of challenge. And even though it is still a relatively new release, I am already extremely nostalgic about my time with Vertigo 2. And I realize I'm running the risk of being a bit too flowery with my prose, so I'm going to move on and tie all of this praise together by turning a spotlight to the creator himself and his extraordinary effort and skill. A game being made by a solo developer is commonly thrown around to excuse all kinds of jank and bad quality these days, especially within VR gaming communities. An excuse I've little patience for because that good faith and simping has rarely proven to result in a better end product, and rather seems more to enable a mediocre status quo if anything else. Be it a single developer or a team of 500, how it got there is irrelevant to me as an end user. I'll look at what's presented to me and make my judgment accordingly. But in this case, for Vertigo 2, I'm going to linger on the fact that this entire game was pretty much all made by one person, because of the exceptional result that still emerged in spite of that circumstance. This one person, Zach Chikalis Brown, a teenager at the time, by the way, designed and created a wealth of diverse, original, sometimes downright inspired environments. He designed, created, programmed, and animated a very impressive variety of NPCs, as well as all the other numerous objects and entities. Created from scratch a large set of completely original and unique weapons for the player to discover and use, each with their own quirks, physics, and characteristics, setting them all apart. Wrote and composed practically all of the original soundtrack by himself. generic store-bought music here. He also wrote all of the dialogue, and then, I'm assuming, auditioned, cast, and directed the voiceover talent featured throughout to get the performances he wanted. A particular shout-out of the voice performances for Officer 13 by Gianni Matragrano, and from Tyler McVicker. This is an extraordinarily impressive undertaking for any one person to tackle over several years, let alone a teenager. But despite the intent and effort being worthy of admiration all by itself, if the end result was still poor quality or unremarkable, then it would quickly fall into obscurity and wouldn't matter. But that isn't the case with Vertigo 2 and Zach's impressive talents. All those processes of original creation I highlighted are not anything new in game development, mind you. They are things many teams will do as standard practice, but it is rarer for solo devs to create original material for all of those things. Rarer still for the solo devs to be multi-talented enough to take on all these tasks and still produce such a consistently high level of quality and length in a medium that seems to be proving extremely difficult for many others, even veteran developers from large established companies, to do half as well as Zach has done here. It is exceptional because Vertigo 2 also gets the vital little touches right, those nuanced details of sound, physics, and interactive design, which are so often sorely lacking in VR games. The motion control interactions are done excellently. Some of the best, smoothest grabbing transitions I've encountered in any VR game, which I wish other devs would take note of and copy. Interactive environmental props don't feature too often through the campaign, but those that do all have well-implemented granular physics interactions. Spectator features are not a concern to the average player, but sharing good-looking, compelling gameplay is a vital part of attracting and keeping an audience, and something VR devs need to take more seriously, but often fail to. Vertigo 2 offers some of the best options of any VR game I've played. HD spectator with adjustable camera smoothing and roll removal, a field of view slider, a third-person camera option, and there's even a camera drone that is controllable on the keyboard by another person and can even assist in combat. But the most impressive and forward-thinking option of all of them is the ability to reduce the game quality within the headset only, significantly lowering the performance impact whilst keeping things prettier for all the spectators. All other developers, take note. It could have all ended there, being a finished, full-featured release from the get-go, but nope. Zach then goes one further, and on top of all of this tremendous accomplishment, he then later releases a free update which added gameplay mutators that significantly changes things, new playable characters that are not just reskins but also come with tangible, unique gameplay alterations to match their characters, a level of detail and commitment we really don't often see elsewhere, and developed a robust level creation and scripting feature which can all be used from within VR, that you then may choose to upload and share for others around the world to try. Just fantastic. Not every single element of the Vertigo 2 experience is a smash hit, or completely succeeds at what it tries to accomplish, as is to be expected with any systemic, multi-layered, complex creation. But the sum of the package as a whole, in this moment at the end of 2023, goes above and beyond in quality, care, and artistic originality than the majority of competing VR titles made by larger teams with much larger budgets have managed in recent years. And I recommend it to you wholeheartedly if you value the things I've mentioned or just want a good single-player VR adventure to make your way through. These kinds of standards, efforts, and their results, the artistic respect for the medium and players, along with the talents of the creator, are the things we users and appreciators of the medium should be holding up high, publicly praising and rewarding in this emerging industry. You did a great job, Zach. Thank you very much for sharing this with us.